Their starting
control your
lineup had
effort.
been atrocious. I mean, that was a defense that was a top 10 defense and it was on a string last year. And this year, they made personnel changes, and it's been atrocious, and that's why they're pulling the plug. Tibbs is done with Kemba Walker. Boy, the Kemba back in the garden thing did not work out, Kev.
Yeah, it's too bad. I mean, his knees are done. That's why.
Yeah, and I wonder what his plight is going to be. Do you think that we will see him move? I guess, what has he got left on this deal? Because they got him in the offseason to go there. The Boston thing did not go extremely well by any means, and now
he's got one more year left on his deal. He's making $8.7 million this season, then $9.2 next year.
Yeah, which is, I mean, it's not crazy to pay a backup point guard $9 million.
No, not at all. Not at all.
I mean, think he goes and becomes a backup somewhere? Would somebody trade for Kemba Walker to be a backup heater?
I mean, I'm a little bit surprised they're not plugging him plugging him into that role. But that's, I mean, I guess you have Derrick Rose. Can you play a Rose Walker backcourt off the bench? Maybe not. Yeah. I mean, I still think Kemba, despite his knees are done, like I said, he's never going to be a guy who is what he was in Charlotte. This is not going to happen ever again, which is sad to say. But with Kemba, I still think he can be a heater off the bench, as you're suggesting, Chris. I can see that. Yeah, why not? Especially at his contract.
Yeah, at $9 million, you actually have some value possibly to somebody else, and I'd imagine he'll want to go play somewhere else. And so I could see that, and I could see him actually having an impact for somebody on where you bring him in off your bench, and that's just kind of what he's going to have to. That's what he's going to have to decide is like the trajectory of his career, right? Like we're to that point now where you could extend your career and be a valuable asset coming off the bench on a couple of nights, and he gets you 27 on some weird night that he comes in and catches a heater. They just, it's a Tibbs team, and they went and got Kemba Walker and Evan Fournier, and you're gonna put him like surprise, surprise. You can't stop the ball, and then you're scrambling around. Their defense was terrible, and yet that bench unit that they have has been fantastic, and it's just. I guess on the surface, I was like, man, just going from Elfrid Payton to Kemba Walker will have an effect. Maybe some of these guys don't have to take as hard of shots. Especially Randle, who was an All-NBA level performer last year. But that just hasn't.
Randle's got to be better, man.
Well, the one that Randle for sure has to be better. The massive disappointment has been RJ
Barrett too. Both.
Oh my goodness,
RJ Barrett.
Look at his numbers. Oh,
yeah. I mean, RJ Barrett. I'll share those numbers right now. 14.6 points per game, down from 17.6 last season. The efficiency drop off is what's so worrisome, though. He's 40% from three last season, down to 32% so far this year. And again. Small sample size, if he hits 5 more 3-pointers, suddenly he's shooting a significantly higher percentage. But the efficiency has not been there from 2-point range. There seems to be like a lack of comfortability on the floor right now with him on the offensive end. His defense has been good. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that's fair to say there. But with RJ, the offense does need to progress forward. I still think it's Julius Randle, though, Chris. I mean, like RJ's been a disappointment, but he's still only 21 years old. We see, these ups and downs with young guys all the time. Throughout sports. Like it happens with young guys. Julius Randle is 27 years old. He made an All-NBA team last season. Then he gets paid this huge contract. And I'm not saying that has to do with him declining here, but I think with him, the fact is that he's fallen into some of these old habits. In his first year in New York, Knicks fans hated seeing him on the court because of his lazy defense, because he was ball stopping on offense. That's back. It's back in a bad way for him. So with the defensive aspect, how much of it is I got paid, I'm not going to try as hard? I hope it's not that. How much of it is I got smoked in the playoffs last year, I need to pace myself? And if it's that, I understand. I totally understand. Because I think with him, though, regardless of whatever the factors are here, he's got to be better on defense. It can't be these short bursts where he's playing hard and he's defending, moving laterally and hustling and doing all the stuff we saw from him all of last season. Julius Randle's look, dude, before the season, Chris, I pitched a story to my editor, Justin. I was like, let's do something on how Julius Randle became the defender that he has. How did he become this versatile, switchable piece that's locking down people across positions? And Justin rightfully was like, let's hold on that and see how the season goes before we pursue it. And he's been a negative on that end of the floor. He's been a negative. So I don't know, what the factors are that go into it, but he needs to fix it, because for this Knicks team, for them to reach expectations during the regular season, he's got to be the guy we saw last year. If he doesn't, I'm just worried he's a one-hit wonder.
Well,
I worry about that.
And I don't think it's just all Randle, though. I mean, their whole team.
It's not all Randle, but a lot of it. Effort is in your control, though, Chris.
Yeah, their starting lineup
your
had been
effort.
atrocious. I mean, that was a defense that was a top 10 defense, and it was on a string last year. And this year, they made personnel changes, and it's been atrocious, and that's why they're pulling the plug. They're pulling the plug on what they were rolling with, because it's just Tibbs will have an aneurysm if he has to watch this anymore, in terms of them not being able to, and it switched. Their last 4 wins, they have been back to playing really good defense, and we'll see. We'll see if it, Tibbs teams have typically been outstanding defensive teams. I think that partly, if you want to blame Randle, fine, that's fair. But personnel-wise, the personnel moves they made them a much worse defensive team. And they have to be good defensively.
It's all of it, Chris. It's not just one thing, for sure. I mean, it's the fact that you go from, Bullock and Payton to having Fournier and Kemba Walker in the starting 5. That's part of it too. You're not getting stops on the perimeter as much. There's more penetration inside. That's putting more responsibility on Randle and Robinson to help inside and to stop all these guys who are getting into the paint. Whereas last season, maybe you're making it harder on guys on the perimeter.
Go crazy.
But like I said though, Chris, effort is in your control. The effort and the energy has not been there from Julius Randle in the way that it was last season. It's more like it was the rest of his career. The 3-point shooting is more like it was the rest of his career. The ball stopping is more like it was the rest of his career. And so he needs to get back to becoming the all-NBA guy he was last season, or else this Knicks team is going to continue to underwhelm.